Say hello to you all. Welcome one, welcome all to the Atsapaddlin. We believe we might have crossed the border into Arkansas. We're definitely on the White River. Basically we're hoping that our GPS and satellite navigation is still intact. My name is Derek Osceola. I'm joined by Lucille Cramblethorne, not next to me, but a socially distant, separate room. There's some glass we've installed. We were able to get it before a chase that let loose watermelons and some chickens. The glass is still intact, but I can at least wave for you. It's good to have you here, as always, for the Global MEGAFist 12.
Oh, it's fantastic to be here, Derek. Whatever state we may be in, whatever body of water we're in, I didn't bring a sextant, so I can't navigate. I hope the computers on board the Atsapaddlin are doing a better job. But yeah, we got a great night of fights here.
Yeah, it's also great to be here because really there's not much else for us to be doing on this. You can only gamble and eat at the buffet so frequently on a riverboat. But we have a lot of great fights for you this evening. Our main event, we're focusing on the middleweights, of course, and our main event is this one. Grover Fuppenberg with an impressive win over Chet Lama. A bit of an upset in his first appearance. He takes on a man who came alive in his first fight, and potentially going to be a shocker for this middleweight division, 3 Ezekiel Subset Alpha.
Oh, absolutely. 3 Ezekiel claims to be from the future. Claims to know how things are going to go in the future. So this might give him potential insight if he's telling the truth. Fuppenberg is a puppet, or I guess Fuppet enthusiast.
Well, he's designed his own. He's created and designed his own and made a show out of it, the Fuppets. That's...
3 Ezekiel came from our HyperFist qualifying tournament last year. Had some pretty good fights there and has impressed already in his first win earlier this season. And Fuppenberg also has impressed. He didn't have a great showing last year, but he looks to be on the good track so far.
No doubt about that. Well, that's going to be our main event for the night. We're going to stay in Group A and talk about this fight. Paranorman, our host, versus Dale Branston. These are two fighters who were very much in the mix to contest for the championship last year. Dale Branston, of course, winning it. Paranorman, our host, just missing out on the playoffs. They're both 0-1, so this is very much a backs against the wall fight. But not expecting either of these fighters to be in this position.
Oh, 100%, Derek. I mean, it is early in the season, but you do not want to go 0-2. We've had a few people last season go 0-2, possibly even 0-3. I'd have to check my stats and make it to the playoffs, but it's not an enviable position. It's tougher and tougher the deeper you get into that hole. You want to get your first win and keep that momentum moving. So
no doubt about that.
Big fight. Big fight for these two.
And I don't know if it was middleweight necessarily, but I know that 3-2 of a record has gotten someone into the playoffs. Not necessarily losing those first two, however, but sometimes they can shape out that way. And of course, concluding Group A, Donnie Bay and Chet Lama. Bay with a win over Paranorman, our host. He is at the top of the table alongside 3 Ezekiel with that first round victory. Donnie Bay trying to build more momentum.
Yeah, he is another guy that had a middling 2019 season, but he's looking to really improve. Lama, he kind of came on strong, if I'm not mistaken, last year, and
made it to the playoffs. Yeah, he had that late charge.
Yeah, so this might be familiar territory for him, but I'm sure it's not something he wants to return to. So, it's going to be big for both men. Bay is not used to being at the top of the standings as such, and Lama is hoping to not have to claw his way up to make another playoff run this year.
Very true. As we go over to Group B, Ed Picayune coming in with a big second round submission victory and has impressed all the way through the Hyperfist tournament. He has yet to taste defeat in any sort of amateur mixed martial arts fashion. He takes on a man that made it to the playoffs but lost to Gordon Wu in episode 2, the first fight of this season. Jerome Glorioso. Interesting matchup here. We have Picayune, who likes to finish via submission, versus a very cagey fighter in Glorioso.
Oh, absolutely. Picayune has looked very impressive. That Hyperfist is not necessarily a lesser competition we've seen with Picayune and 3Ezekiel both putting on good performances in the Global Megafist proper. And Jerome Glorioso, it's going to be interesting to see how he rebounds from a loss. He was a very strong contender last year. Didn't quite, get the title won, and starting off the 2020 season 0-1, potentially 0-2 is not something he's going to want to have fall on his head.
Oh, if I recall, Glorioso was the one who lost to Branston in the semifinals after in a bit of a shock to everybody. And we're going to moving on. Another semifinal this last season starts at 0-1. The Tumor of Justice taking on Gordon Wu. And this one could potentially, they like to say don't blink. These two fighters have a history of just putting an end to a fight before you can blink.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that, of the divisions at Global Megafist season 2020, middleweight has seen such a huge shakeup, such parity so far. I mean, guys like Tumor of Justice, Jerome Glorioso, top contenders in 2019 are on the back foot, and a guy like Gordon Wu, Donnie Bay, they were decent. They were never, the world beaters of the groups, but they're looking to potentially make moves to stay at the top and just win the divisions outright as soon as possible. So
one thing we're seeing so far here in the Global Megafist 12 for 2020, again, it's the sophomore season of it, is that it truly is unpredictable. You can't expect everything to go the same way it did the year prior, as we're looking at Leon Pagliacci, who is also going to be competing tonight against Ken Dahl. That is the third of the Group B fights. And this is an interesting one as well, one we did not see last year because they were in opposite groups. Pagliacci started with a big win over the Tumor of Justice, got a big knockout win in the third round. Ken Dahl was submitted by Ed Picayune, so he might be looking to get back to his winning ways as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got guys who probably saw each other, across the group stages, as it were, last year, and a first-time matchup is always interesting. They might have seen some tape, but to actually get there, inside the octagonal-like cage structure with a fellow combatant is always an interesting first-time experience.
No doubt about that. Well, that's our card for tonight. Let's recap the rules for those, especially if you're new to Global Megafist 12. We're going to be a little bit explaining for you how this is all going to work. Of course, it helps if you just watch and enjoy our rules tonight. All these fights are amateur mixed martial arts battles, 3 rounds, 2.5 minutes each, which is 150 seconds. That will count down from 150 down to 0 in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. A 10-point must scoring system is in effect. No hitting to the groin, no hitting the back of the head, and no sharing water bottles. We cannot stress that one enough in the current climate. And of course, any of our fights that go to a decision, our judges will score it based on aggression, damage, control, and a chugging contest relay style. Seems like that kind of breaks the... You know what? Fine, whatever. And of course, as this is amateur mixed martial arts, most important thing, no one is getting paid. So that is how that is going to shape up. And we start things off with a big one. The Tumor of Justice versus Gordon Wu gets us started here with our second middleweight fights of this year's tournament. go to the tail of the tape to see how these two measure up. They were asked where do they see themselves in 5 years as the question to add to their stats. Wu has a 4-inch reach advantage, a 3-inch height advantage, and he seems a little more optimistic. He says he hopes to be on set, whereas the Tumor of Justice knows radiation therapy is in his future. Not much we can say about that, I guess.
Yeah, it shows honesty on Tumor's part. He knows it's not going to be good for him in the future, but he's making the most of it. As he has the time right now to actually engage in physical activity.
Yeah, and not to mention he embodies this whole superhero vigilante, and he's going for one of those trademark arm bars 20 seconds into this one.
Yeah, Wu offered no resistance to the takedown and the armbar attempt, but it just couldn't quite break the grip of Wu, and Tumor is about to say Tumor on bottom, but he reverses easily.
And again, we're going for, it looks like is it a Kimura? It's hard to see from my angle. I think that is a Kimura. He's just got it. He's going for it from a different sort of way than you would if you're going from the guard.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's a shoulder lock. It's definitely Kimura, I believe, if my memory serves correctly. Kimura is, the elbow pointed up, and an Americana is pointed down. I'd have to.
Down, yeah.
They basically just wrench and tear at the shoulder joint. But here comes
he is
the
really
armbar
going for
again.
everything that he can, and this is an interesting strategy for the Tumor of Justice. Is he in danger of tiring himself out here, or is this a good strategy if you're a grappler to just be going for any and everything? Because he eats a knee. Good God.
Yeah. It depends. Some guys definitely have that kind of cardio to just chain submissions and hope their opponent, makes a mistake and, they can capitalize. But some guys, you definitely see where they clearly go too hard on, a handful of submissions and are completely gassed. But I think the Tumor is shown in the past that he's definitely capable of putting out this kind of effort and still being
Which
there.
Which again is something you don't really expect to see from a man who is literally riddled with the effects of radiation therapy and, again, all of these foreign bodies in his whatever. Again, he embodies this whole vigilante superhero thing, proving that, nothing will stop him as he is entering the world of amateur mixed martial arts. But again, the movie extra Gordon Wu affectionately refers to himself as Assailant Number 3, a role that he seems to be cast in multiple times.
Time, guys.
And that's going to bring us to an end of a very exciting round one. And I think just from being busy, I'd have to give it to the Tumor of Justice.
Yeah, he was definitely more active. The submissions, did threaten to stop the fight more than any of Wu's attacks did. I think Wu's only big moments were that knee kind of midway through the round that floored Wu, but he didn't really capitalize on it. He got there's that knee on.
That's the knee right there, just right to the mush.
Yeah, but he jumped on top, but he ended up, I believe, getting swept and got another submission hold put on him. So Wu didn't use that to his advantage as best he could have.
Oh, and that's just a big slam by the Tumor of Justice, just kind of using his hips, thrusting and just sending him right down to the canvas of this 8-sided octagon-like shaped cage, octagonal-like structure. We assume we just can't we can't say it. We'll get a letter at the very least. I don't know anymore, but it's best not to.
I guess if they can't find us on the waterways of Arkansas and Missouri, it's a little safer, but I still would rather not risk it.
No doubt about that. We're nowhere near international waters. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think Arkansas counts as international waters. However, I'm never going to be sure about that. Wow, what a heel hook attempt. He just catches Wu completely off guard.
Absolutely. I was about to talk up Wu's big hooks that looked to be really rocking the Tumor, but the Tumor just dove on that leg very quickly.
And it's just such an interesting sort of maneuver you have to do. You have to drop down and then kick your legs back and suddenly put yourself in a prone position. But again, for folks who know submissions and know jiu-jitsu, that seems to be a lot of times fighters will welcome their opponents into that position, thinking they're giving them an advantage, and then just snatch something and suddenly you're tapping out.
Oh, absolutely. It is a bit of a dangerous spot when you're going 2 arms on a leg, because if your opponent is, calm enough to do it, they can definitely just haul off and start blasting punches in your face as you're trying to break that hold.
Especially a lot of leg locks. The counter is often a matter of just rolling with the torque to kind of like alleviate the pain, but it's not as simple as that. But I know that's often one of the first steps of working through it. So again, you don't necessarily need your hands to do that, as Gordon Woo is using both of his hands to kind of clasp. He's got that chain grip where the fingers are kind of cupping one another to hold onto that hold, because the minute he loses that hold, that grip, then that arm is getting hyper extended. And again, Tumor of Justice going for yet another one. No signs of fatigue yet.
No, just relentless on this hunt for a submission hold. Heel hooks, arm bars, kimuras, just anything he can find an opening, and the Tumor of Justice is looking for it. But you mentioned fatigue. Well, I was gonna say he looked to be taking a bit of a rest, but he easily sweeps Wu. Maybe lulled Gordon into a false sense of security by not attacking immediately. This has been a frantic 2 rounds.
Time, guys.
No doubt about that, and that is the end of 2. We go to a 3rd round, and there's many opportunities to finish this one. I'm actually very surprised we're going to a 3rd round, but it shows the cardio and it shows the strength and the desire to win from these 2 athletes. Don't tell them they're not getting paid. No, really don't. They might have forgotten. However, the glory of winning the Global MEGAFist 12 is too great and too enticing for them, and Wu is just showing how resilient he can be by withstanding all these attempts.
Oh, absolutely. Such resiliency from Wu to withstand it. Such, determination from the Tumor to keep going for these submissions. And yeah, you mentioned they're not getting paid, but a win is going to make that post-fight victory cream corn from the buffet going to taste that much sweeter to whoever gets their hand raised at the end of this one.
Let's go, guys. Fight.
Last round.
No doubt about that. And big uppercut. Well, that's another way other than just the knee, and Wu kind of just shakes it all off, kind of almost giving a little bit of a, well, where is this second wind coming from for Gordon Wu?
Oh, big heavy shots, and he's not rushing in. He knows if he rushes in, there's an easy chance that the Tumor's just gonna grab hold of him.
He's placing every single one of them, no doubt about that.
Yeah, he is maintaining not necessarily social distancing, but proper fight distancing, and not getting too close to the Tumor.
Absolutely. Oh, another one, an uppercut, and down goes the Tumor of Justice. Can this be it?
Right, stop. Fight's over.
It absolutely is. What a comeback. I think that has to be what we call that. That is an absolute come-from-behind victory for Gordon Wu.
Yeah, I would have to imagine he would have been down on the judges' scorecards in the first 2 rounds. He didn't really offer much offense in those first 2. He was pretty much all on defense, but round 3, he came out on fire.
That is his 2nd victory in the 3rd round so far this year, but most importantly, it's 2 big wins for Gordon Wu, the man known as Assailant Number 3. And I think he might have, that's a henchman from a movie that I think may have gotten upgraded to a low-level boss fight.
Absolutely. I mean, that's impressive on its own, but against a guy like the Tumor of Justice, that is
finalist.
There.
Yeah, excuse me, no, he was a finalist last year. He lost to Branston in the final. And he is now 0-2. That just shows how the tables can turn here in the Global MEGAFist 12. You can be on top 1 year, and suddenly the Tumor of Justice is fighting from behind. Well, coming up next, we're going to stay in the same group. Leon Pagliacci trying to make his frown turned upside down for the sad clown. He's got Ken Dahl in this one. the tape, a 4-inch height advantage, 5-inch reach advantage goes to Dahl. Fair enough. How do they see themselves in 5 years? Both full uplifting, hopefully having some hope for the future. Pagliacci, how does he get past that reach disadvantage that he has?
A lot of it can come to good head movement, ducking and weaving out of a guy like Dahl's strikes. Sometimes just a good bull rush, especially Pagliacci. We saw in his highlight package, he's got a couple of submission wins. If he just, you can't shoot from too far out, otherwise, it's easily stuffed, as we're seeing right here. As
Distance
I
closing game, absolutely.
Yeah. But
well, he gets himself in the guard and he goes for it right here. That's not a bad option.
Oh, absolutely. Any means necessary to get the fight to the ground. If that's how you think the fight's or your best option to win the fight. This Kimura attempt, I think Dahl's just a little too fresh. Good escape from him.
He probably could have given up on it and then not tried to find himself in a worse position as he is right now, but gets out of it. Sometimes it's good to just show your intention and say, okay, this is what I'm going for, and it's not gonna matter. You're gonna lose to it, but nonetheless, I think there's a
try and stop it if it's coming, but sometimes you can't stop it.
That's what we saw in the last fight. We saw the Tumor of Justice kind of just saying, try and stop it, and Gordon Moose said, okay, and he waited for his moment and he struck.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly not what Leon Pagliacci wants in this fight, but Wu is a different kind of fighter than Dahl, and I'm not saying in terms of skill. I'm just saying in terms of how they fight.
No doubt about that. You're very right with that. I think that's a very good point you make there. I think there's and you can see he just dives in with that almost goes for like the full-on football tackle, just goes and gets the takedown with such speed, I guess, and he does it again immediately. So Pagliacci has this deceptive speed that if he can just catch you off guard, you're going down no matter what.
Yeah, very reactive takedowns. Wait for the opponent to maybe strike, overextend, get a little off balance, and then jump in. We saw it with a punch first and then a kick attempt from Dahl, and both times Ken ended up on his backside and looks to be leaping a bit from his brow line.
Left eyebrow. I'm not sure. I don't remember any specific strike that did it, but perhaps maybe a clash of heads or something we didn't see. Perhaps we'll see it on the replay as we're going to the end of the first round now. And it looks like there's some blood on the face of Pagliacci mixed in with the makeup. I know the eye makeup is usually more on the black side, so that's why I saw the blood.
You swing that arm over.
Yeah,
Interesting
it's
thing here.
How the cuts form, if we're going to get a good shot of those, or our replay booth is just going to focus on the submission attempts.
Yeah, I think that's a matter. I think that's a matter of opinion for them. Maybe it was something we didn't really see. I'm not seeing any blood on Pagliacci on either of their faces at the moment. Maybe there's a clash of heads in there somewhere. But again, that's the same attempt, just going for that Kimura, and again, the defense from Pagliacci, just his head is all over that. Like, there's a cut right there, so maybe it was a clash of heads somewhere. Again, he's pulling down, and I guess either they took care of the cut or that was I didn't see that correctly over Pagliacci's eyebrow, but Dahl definitely has a target on his forehead.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if Pagliacci is wanting to, ideally win by submission, you can't ignore something like that big cut that's just gonna impair your opponent's vision and just keep hitting it as much as you can if you're Leon Pagliacci.
I mean, a stoppage via a cut is just as good of a stoppage via any other means. It's worth the same. It's still a win in the record books. It is part of the sport of mixed martial arts, and that's why it's a thing. It's a factor that comes into play.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting. Our ringside physicians are typically, kind of advised to keep hopefully keep the fight going as long as possible, unless it's a dire situation. But sometimes
I've definitely seen some envelopes being handed by mysterious people in suits to our ringside physicians or whatever medical staff we were able to get at the time. We're not in Missouri, so a little bit different, I suppose, now that we're on a moving riverboat. But I suppose the level of regulation to that is more or less the same.
Yeah, I was guessing instead of a Missouri doctor, we had some sort of water doctor, which I guess is maybe a thing for water people. That we've all become water people now.
We are people of the water. Sure, I guess so. And there's another submission opportunity that Pagliacci gets the takedown and goes for an arm triangle. It's in deep, but I don't know if Dahl is. Again, he's got that length, and that might be a tougher squeeze for Pagliacci. As we saw, he wasn't able to finalize it.
Do not let him turn into you.
Yeah, absolutely. The length of Dahl. He's a fairly well-built guy. He can put some strength behind the defense of that. And honestly, the blood can help to slip out of some of these submissions depending on where they're targeting.
No doubt about that. And again, Ken Dahl is he has been surgically altered to look like that. I believe those are literally sculpted abs. They have been sculpted, and he is just packed with so much silicone and plastic to make himself into a male version of, I guess, literally a Ken doll.
You start working.
One quick thing when you go jail.
It takes all folks to sign up for the Global MEGAFist 12. So respect to Ken Dahl for choosing to do this to himself, both the surgeries and the fist fighting.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting, and we've talked about it before. He is packed to the gills with so much silicone that you wonder if he actually would more likely belong in the lightweight division, where we'd see him next week in episode 6. But because he is, again, just at he's running at full capacity, so to speak.
Gentlemen, you ready?
Never seen him use the bathroom is what I'm kind of getting at. But that's another thing. Thank goodness we're getting to round number 3 for this one. Pagliacci goes right to the takedown, and we are back in business here.
Yeah, Dahl's gonna have to really put something together in this third round to either finish it or really sway the judges. Otherwise, he really hasn't done a whole lot in the first 2 rounds. Just, again, defending against submissions, and as they always say, defense is its own reward. You're not supposed to get judged according to defense. It's just something you do to not lose the fight in its own right.
No doubt about that, and I think we're pretty much in agreement that Pagliacci has been dominating this fight. I think if it goes to a decision, we're at about 100 seconds to go, right about there. Yeah, minute 40 to go in this 3-round fight. Decision gets 3 big points for the winner. Pagliacci sitting on 4 after a 3rd round knockout in his first fight, and he, again, 1 extra point might make the difference.
Yeah, if it comes down to it at the end of the season, and that one point from a finish versus a decision, he's really gonna try and make sure that doesn't factor into things as he's looking for submissions here against.
It's not for lack of trying. It absolutely is. It absolutely is Ken Dahl putting up just enough resistance, just unable to really capitalize on anything. He's trying right now. He's actually putting a couple good shots. He gets that mount again. Let's see if he can keep it for any longer. He cannot. I guess it's just a matter of not cinching it in. I figured he just doesn't put his weight down, or maybe the buoyancy of the silicon is causing some other physics effect. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be his center of gravity is off due to his adjusted physique. It could just be he doesn't have the same functional strength in his hips that Pagliacci has, and sometimes it just comes down to technique. And Pagliacci seems to have a better idea, at least a little bit, of what he's doing on the ground compared to Dahl.
That's it.
No doubt about that. Well, we are getting to the final 6 seconds, and I gotta say, I feel like a decision is kind of inevitable now.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over.
That was a pretty good fight, I have to say. Wow, look at all of that.
There's a lot of blood. I gotta imagine a lot of that is Dahl's. Well, Dahl is throwing up his hands in the air. I guess sometimes it's just a matter of trying to give the appearance that you might have won. I'm not sure that's gonna be enough for this one though.
Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time. Judges can be swayed. Whether it's throwing up your hands at the end of a round, whether it's your corner yelling emphatically every time you swing. Some judges just they'll get tricked by just about anything.
It does make me think of like over in Thailand, the Muay Thai fights. The corners will scream, make just noises anytime a strike lands, or at least one that they believe lands, even if it's just a thrown strike. And the judges can keep an eye on that and say, oh well, people are reacting to that more. But I don't think it's gonna fool these judges. Leon Pagliacci goes to 2-0, 7 points at the moment after 2 fights. I think that's gonna put him at the top of the table so far. But I think it's actually
the global.
Pardon me for that one. That was a bit of a mistake there. There we go. Well, we're going to take a quick break from the action right now and explain to you, if this is your first time joining us for Global MEGAFist 12, we've been talking about points, we've been talking about making playoffs. This is going to be a good brief to explain to you how the Global MEGAFist 12 works.
The Global MEGAFist 12 is a grueling competition like nothing ever seen before in mixed martial arts. First, the 12 fighters are drawn at random into 2 groups of 6 fighters each. Each fighter will face off against the other 5 in their group. A win is worth 3 points, while a draw is worth 1. In addition, bonus points are awarded for how fast a fight is won. Winning in the 3rd round is worth 4 total points, a 2nd round win is worth 5, and finishing a fight in the 1st round gets you 6 points in all. After all 5 rounds of competition, the 2 fighters who finish in last place are relegated from Global MEGAFist 12 and must earn their way back in next season. They will be replaced by 2 fighters from the HyperFist qualifying tournament. The 2 5th place fighters will be matched up against 2 more fighters from the HyperFist qualifiers, with the winners earning their spot in next season's Global MEGAFist 12. The top 2 fighters from each group advance to the semifinals, where the 1st place fighter from each group will take on the 2nd place fighter from the other. The winners of these fights will do battle for the championship. It all comes down to one thing: win, and win fast. And the title of Global MEGAFist 12 champion awaits.
And we are back with you there again. Apologies for the technical issues there, but we are back. That is an explanation of how the Global MEGAFist 12 works, why our decision gave 3 points to Leon Pagliacci, gave Gordon Wu 4 points for finishing in the 3rd round. We're going to switch over to Group A for a second. Donnie Bay and Chet Lama is our next fight, and that is happening right about now. we go to the tail of the tape. They are identical in height, pretty close in reach. Any other things to look at, Lucille?
You know, the where you see yourself in 5 years question, you know, Chet Lama, he just wants people to leave him alone. He went to that mountaintop in Alabama to get away from it all, but people will not stop bothering him about how the Tide is going to do this year. Gosh, he might be one of the few people that's actually glad that the college football season might not be going down this year.
Or at least that he's trapped on a boat, or at least he's not on his hilltop trying to find his zen moments, his moments of zen. When at least you have your own cabin that allows you to kind of do that a little bit more easily without being interrupted by Tammy from Clanton or Phyllis from Mulga. Meanwhile, he goes right for the submission. This is the Chet Lama we expected from last year. He kind of came up flat in his opening fight with Grover Fuppenberg. This is more, but he's got a tough opponent in Donnie Bay as well, who submitted Paranorman, our host, just like that with something like that in about the same amount of time. 92 seconds is how long it took him to beat Paranorman, our host, last time.
Yeah, he's digging for that armbar. Chet has got a very strong grip on both his hands, preventing the extension. Good escape from Chet Lama. I was not expecting such a battle of submissions from both men. You know, Lama obviously is I think he's won all his fights, or all the fights that he's won has been by submission.
That sounds right. I'm almost positive that's the case. I can check my notes in a second, but that sounds very accurate.
Yeah, Bay he might be the same case. His submission wins, I guess, have never really stuck in my mind, so it's hard for me to remember them. I think I always think of him as a kind of a well-rounded fighter compared to a Chet Lama, but he might be able to pull something off if he can avoid getting, Chet Lama to stay on top for as long as he has.
Not about that. Actually, that is actually the case. Both these fighters, all of their, I think all of their wins have been by submission. So you're absolutely right about both fighters. Donnie Bay, well, again, when you think about a lifeguard, the paranoia of his lifeguard lifestyle, he's all about ripping on to that. Well, in this case, the victim. Normally, it's a person he's trying to save and not letting go for fear of, God forbid, the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I guess. Wow, I'm very disappointed in myself for not remembering that about Donnie Bay. I'll have to keep better notes. I apologize.
Quite all right. I had to look at it myself. There's, again, I feel like Donnie Bay kind of was one of those under the radar fighters last season, so maybe this is a good chance to kind of. And he can kind of put himself into the limelight and make himself a focal point of the Global MEGAFist 12. He was kind of just there. He was 2-3. So again, that one of those 3 submission victories was last time we were out here.
Yeah, I mean, it's no small feat to get submissions on anyone, even if they don't know what they're doing and you don't know what you're doing either. Some big shots in these replays from Donnie Bay. Very good round from both men.
I always say, I think the thing is, you can't prepare for what you don't know. And if you don't know and they don't know, then preparing for what you don't know against someone who doesn't know what you're preparing for that you don't know. You know what, Lucille? I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to. I mean, I obviously can't stop you in person from getting caught in a loop, but I was maybe going to. Throw a pen maybe into your isolation box to maybe hopefully get you out of the loop. But you found your way out.
Yeah, that's fair. I just kept swimming. However, again, that's just one of those things.
You just gotta power through it, Derek.
Yeah, time doesn't really react in the same manner anymore, especially with current situation in the world. Not to mention the fact that we are on a riverboat in Lord knows where, but there is an attempt at a Kimura, but Lama gets out of it and goes right to mount. And looked like he was grabbing for something, but Bay is putting up a good resistance. Oh, nice elbow right up the middle. That is one of the most brutal shots you can land on somebody.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people think an elbow is just for cutting the flesh. Seen plenty of elbow.
It's over.
Tap out from Llama, armbar submission.
Well, he is right back in it. Chet Llama, 5 points for the second round submission. And again, I was about to agree with you about the elbow. I think that might have just stunned Donnie Bay enough to make this submission a little easier to sink in. And absolutely, and he's got gravity on his side. He's kind of driving down. It's a bludgeoning blow as well as it cuts.
Absolutely. I think it rattled Donnie's senses and opened him up for Llama to transition to the armbar, and Chet, just put his powerful legs on the mat and arched his hips and torqued that sucker until Donnie Bay tapped out.
Sure did, and they had to tap out, but Chet Llama 5 big points. He goes to 1-1. We're starting to see a lot of these fights that are starting to just kind of like see, could be anybody's game. We're not really seeing anyone drop just yet. But coming up next, our next fight, the man who made quite the appearance, the debut on the scene, Ed Picayune, our freelance aggressive journalist, taking on the unwilling president, Jerome Glorioso. Of the tape, Ed Picayune, Jerome Glorioso, both these, I don't want to say undersized middleweights, but they are on the smaller size, and bless Jerome Glorioso for hoping that he is no longer the unwilling president of the, goodness me, I'm trying to remember the name of the place.
Ready?
It's the Antarctic of some sort of
Let's
lands.
fight.
It's French Antarctica or something very strange that I didn't know existed until Jerome Glorioso burst onto the scene.
Precisely that, yes. Absolutely that, Lucille. I'm looking for the... my notes here. He is the unwilling president of the French Southern and Antarctic lands. A real place, a collection of islands. He somehow found his way into the presidency of that. Does not want it.
Hands up!
I have no idea what would possess someone to find themselves in that situation and then not want that sort of job, but here we are, and I think what he'd rather want is to get out of this triangle choke from Ed Picayune. Well, this is exactly the kind of thing that Picayune has been doing throughout all of last year. He was a Hyperfist qualifier, won the Hyperfist tournament.
Wow, I thought that was
very close.
You keep going till something opens.
And he got a submission victory over Ken Dallas. He's going for a Kimura on the second attempt. That was such a close. Again, we both thought he had that triangle choke on Glorioso. But Glorioso, from what we saw last year, you don't ever want to count him out. This is a whole nother level of opponent for Picayune.
100%. You know, you were bringing up in the tail of the tape, both these guys under 6 foot. You know, some might say undersized for middleweight, but both men have very much made that size work. You know, Glorioso last season going 4-2, Picayune in the Hyperfist going 4-0. I mean, it's, you know, it's not easy necessarily to prepare for someone whose, you know, head is not exactly where you are expecting it to be in terms of strikes. You know, you're
Good
throwing
movement. They're very aloof. They're very evasive. You're absolutely right what you're getting at there. And well, one way to keep the head where it is just wrap your legs around it and get a triangle choke in again.
We're seeing a ton of submission attempts in these fights tonight.
It's almost like I shudder to think it's almost like some of these amateur fighters are actually learning from past fights.
Ready to move.
Or
Hands up, chin down.
or is it just bum luck? I honestly don't know.
Hands up. Hands up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it could be something as innocuous as they're all betting with each other on who gets submissions. You know, you got to pass the time some way.
Legs are tired from trying to
And
hold that.
might as well do it with gambling in a slightly unusual situation.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, again, it is kind of strange. These fighters do kind of have to share. They share this riverboat with one another. This is a new addition to the complicated nature of the Global MEGAFist 12. It's not what we'd expected, but here we are. And this close quarters does allow for maybe a little bit more knowledge of your opponent.
Yeah, it's you know, you're either in the gym as we are now. You're at the buffet. You're in your room. You're doing karaoke, or you're in the casino. There's not much else available unless you get really buck wild and want to hop in one of our waterways as we're traveling and just cool down a bit.
Yeah, that's about it. And I mean, I think that's the thing. There's not even a pool on board that I know about, or if I haven't found it yet.
Other than a tub.
Yeah, not even a Lido deck. So again, I kind of just, as you pointed out, unless we're doing press obligations, we both mostly kind of keep to our respective selves.
Don't stay in his range.
A safely distant chat over a meal. But again, you can only have handfuls and spoonfuls and ladlefuls of buffet food. So much before it starts getting to you. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's starting to get to me, Lucille. A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, at least we have this every week to you know, take our mind off the crushing monotony of 24/7 riverboat life, which none of us asked for.
None of us asked for it. I don't know anyone in the year 2020 that would actively seek out riverboat life. But nonetheless, here we are, and this is the best we can make it. And still, it is absolutely still our. Despite all of the pain you can hear in both of our voices, we are still so happy and so proud to bring you the Global MEGAFist 12. Again, Most Glorious and Honorable Mr. Naga could have canceled it, but he said absolutely not. He said the need for this to happen is paramount, and I think he also screamed out some expletives about various bald men. But again, nonetheless, we're seeing more triangle choke attempts from Picayune. He's really just going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking for anything. It's beautiful. Oh gosh, that looked so tight. That looked like Glorioso was gonna have to tap out, but he is obviously made of sterner stuff. Wow, it's impressive that he has survived this many attempts. Triangles, Kimuras. I mean, he's fighting back, you know, as best he can. I see a bit of a cut, maybe some swelling on Picayune's left eyebrow.
Yeah, that looks actually it looks like it's in a really bad spot, right on the eyelid, which is even harder to close up. I've never seen that in mixed martial arts. The cut over there is it's just so much harder because you have to blink, obviously, that it's really hard to keep it closed. And Glorioso looks fairly fresh and composed. I guess when you're an unwilling world leader?
He's tired. His
Question
legs are
mark?
tired from trying to
I
hold
don't know
on.
how well we can use that
Push the
term.
face. Push the face on up.
Not much can really bother you when you're already bothered by your daily life as the president.
Yeah, as we said, I believe last time he was here, at least he's got some reprieve from this leadership role he did not ask for and does not want to have by, essentially being shanghaied and put on this riverboat for the next couple of months.
No doubt about that. Well, he's been doing a good job when he's needed to defend.
Gets that back, you fight that 2-on-1. If he gets that body
And
lock,
Picayune
fight it off.
starting to look a little frustrated. A lot of redness over the eyes. So Glorioso's been getting those shots in where it matters.
Let's fight. Last round.
This is round 3.
Leg kicks. Chin down, Mason.
All up in the balance. I have to maybe say it's anybody's fight. Whether we go to a decision or whether we see a finish, it's hard to predict at this point.
Yeah, it's been very close. I mean, Picayune has definitely gone for a lot of submissions, but Glorioso, when he's defended, he has been on the attack. He has landed ground and pound. He has postured up. He has rained down heavy blows. He's not just kind of stayed on the ground and gotten another submission like some of the fighters in earlier fights facing a submission expert. He is working pretty much 100% of the time, whether he's defending or he's on offense.
There it is.
Oh, good escape from Glorioso.
Hands up, chin down.
Let's see if he can
Beautiful.
get back to standing and start kickboxing with Picayune. Oh, he's asking for Picayune back on his feet.
Wow, I think that's a smart. That's probably the smartest decision. But Picayune says no, thank you. I'll go ahead and get my takedown when I can. Those might be the point scorers. And again, this is Glorioso looking to put a finish in.
Pressure.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, Glorioso knows his best option to win this fight is standing, and any opportunity he can find, he's requiring Picayune to go back up.
And that's the thing, when your opponent shows their hand like that, and you know that, I mean, how does a fighter react to that? I mean, Picayune, again, you go for the takedown when you want to, but your opponent now knows that's exactly what you're going to go to, because it's almost like a reverse psychology thing where that's what they want you to do.
Yeah, and I think that's why Picayune is keeping it on the feet. He's throwing these big shots to kind of psych Glorioso out that he's not just going to shoot a double leg as soon as the fight
He's
gets
certainly
back up.
not winning the stand-up battle. I think we both can agree to that.
No, but sometimes it's enough to threaten to keep your opponent guessing, and Glorioso with the takedown and instantly concedes the position.
Yep.
This is
I don't know. This is going to be so difficult to score. You can easily see this going in either direction.
Stop. That's it.
Oh, 100%, Derek. This has been a fantastic fight.
Yeah, Ed Picayune, for the times that he wasn't controlling the fight, was taken so out of his element by Jerome Glorioso, which is more credit to Glorioso than it is to Picayune's detriment. But again, a tough fight. We knew this was going to be a tough one for Picayune. We'll have to see what the judges say.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to say anyone really lost this fight. It's such a razor thin margin of error of winner and loser. This one's going to be tough to be a judge on.
No doubt about that. Well, that's why we are not the judges. We have kept our judges hostage on board as well, and they are making their decision. Let's see who it goes to. 3 points to Glorioso.
The winner.
A big, much-needed win.
Picayune has tasted defeat for the first time in his amateur career.
Yes, and importantly enough, he was not finished. He just lost via decision. But what a result. Well, we're going to take a quick break from the action to tell you all about what is coming up in our next episode here. We'll be back in 1 week's time, June 1st. Episode 6, we feature the lightweights. On the left side of the screen is Group A fights. Zeke Apnea versus Ruben Fondant. Kale Howard versus Trevor Sereno. And look at that one. Walter Birch versus Miroslav Florislava. Should be a great one. Meanwhile, JC Switcher versus Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs. Charlie Valentine versus Beginner's Swordhouse. And Rob Lynn versus Deputy Snooter Magnum. I think that bottom row are the ones to watch.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these are going to be outstanding fights across the board. I don't think anyone is. Well, Ruben Fondant is struggled, but anyone can turn around anytime. But yeah, these bottom two bouts, Birch versus Florislava and Lynn versus Magnum, those are ones to keep your eyes on. And I just want to say, as it is Memorial Day, I want to thank people like Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs and all troops around the world for all that they do.
All that Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs does and has done.
Yes.
That he's told us about.
Is I think still active. I'm not 100% sure. He says it's classified.
Yeah.
It's classified if he's still active duty, which I didn't know that was something that could be classified.
Nor did I see. That's weird because when I asked him if he was active duty, he said a soldier is always active, and that seemed like a very weird way to. Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks to him. Sure, thanks to him, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have our next two fights, our final two fights coming up in the Global MEGAFist 12. We are going to stick back to Group A. This is an interesting one. Two fighters who potentially will have their backs against the wall. Paranorman, our host, taking on 2019 champion Dale Branston. One. I didn't realize I didn't like Dale Branston until I saw how he answered that question.
You ready? You ready?
That really grates on the old nerves, especially in a
Absolutely,
situation
yeah.
like this.
First the hands, there you go.
No doubt about that. Well, Paranorman, our host, an interesting character as well.
Take your time. Nice
He
and
is
relaxed.
the host of a famous ghost hunting show called Ghost Insertion, where he welcomes spirits that he contacts into his actual body. They embody him, and so we believe that they are giving him a bit of the fighting spirit, no pun intended. And so far it hasn't really done much for him. He did have a loss to Donnie Bay in very fast time. But he takes on the 2019 champion, the Pickle King of New England, Dale Branston. Says he'll pickle anything.
I wonder if you can pickle a ghost.
That's actually a very good question. I would have never thought that. You have to keep it in a jar, in a brining liquid. I don't know. It can probably escape through the jar, so that seems like a little tough thing to do. But I'm sure he would try.
Absolutely. He'd try, and I bet he'd get a real kick out of the whole experience, even if it doesn't turn out great. I was going to say Branson is I believe our biggest fighter at middleweights, towering 6'5", and
yeah, he's very large.
He's not exactly a beanpole. He does very well in terms of cutting the weight and putting it back on to have what looks like a fairly significant size advantage.
It makes me wonder if he puts himself in brining liquid, if that does any sort of expansion or cutting. I mean, I know a lot of that is water. When weight cutting, which again we know. It's horribly dangerous, especially on the amateur level, which is why we just decide not to mention it and let the fighters decide if they want to do it themselves, and offer no tips. We don't want any liability in this. So if they want to do it, yeah.
And so we don't even have a sauna on the Atsapadlin, which is a common method for fighters to just
so they have to get very creative here. But yeah, Branston looks like the kind. He absolutely does look like he might. I don't know if again, when you sweat out, it's obviously salt water and it's all that water weight. I wonder if a brining liquid would be a good way to pack mass back on, or I'm really just spitballing at this point, Lucio. I'm not sure. It doesn't make sense, but he is very large. He puts on a lot of mass and doesn't seem to slow down from it, to our knowledge.
No, I mean, I've heard some people, if they do get a muscle cramp, they will drink pickle brine to kind of alleviate that cramping feeling. So perhaps Branson's onto something with whatever he does, because he's. I don't want to say he's a decision king, but he's definitely had quite a few decision wins, especially last year. Big shots from Paranorman, but Branson is a guy that can be there for all 3 rounds. So he's got to be careful.
He's got a high tolerance for damage and a high tolerance for discomfort. He can weather a storm with the best of them.
Let's fight.
Oh. But Paranorman is just putting it on him.
He certainly is. Yeah, he's got those. Well, they're circling at the moment.
Press forward. Keep moving to the outside.
We are just about 15 seconds into this fight. Very cagey affair. They're kind of backing out, looking for their shots. Oh, big kick right to the face from Branston. My goodness.
Head movement. Hands up.
30 seconds into this one, and I think Paranorman gets the best of that exchange.
Let him walk in. 1-6. Throw that right. I want to hook up top.
All right, and we are going to this one. Well, again, it's about... And again, we're a third of the way through this round, and down goes Branston. Branston is down, and he's laying into Paranorman, and it's all over. What a fight. What a fight. What a battle that was. And Paranorman, our host, landed the shot that mattered. And Dale Branston. What a finish. Lucille, we're looking at the replay right now, and Branston just one of those two shots that was, once he was already on the ground, just put him completely out. There is your winner, Paranorman, our host. It ended in a flash, didn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say both men have notoriously heavy hands. Yeah, their highlight packages showed them putting people away, very easily with punches and kicks. And Paranorman just he landed first, he landed harder, he landed cleaner, and Branston went out.
No doubt about that. Well, we have our final fight of the evening. Rover Fuppenberg, Ezekiel Subset Alpha. That one is happening in just a few. We're going to go to that one right now. The tail of the tape in this one, Rover Fuppenberg, Ezekiel Subset Alpha. They are both sitting at 1-0. Only one man is from the future, and that makes me worry with how he answers that question.
Yeah, I'd like more follow-up, but I'd also not like more follow-up, if you understand my meaning. Some things are better left unknown. But if there's something to prepare for, I'd like to know.
Yeah, we'd like to. I mean, there's been enough surprises in this calendar year that we have not been prepared for and are trying our darndest to get through. That I'd like to know if there's anything else I should be ready to address. Let's just say that.
Don't stay in his range.
Last we got, a nice knockdown by Fuppenberg.
Yeah, I'd say Ezekiel is going hard for those takedowns, and Fuppenberg easily shucking them off, landing those knees up the middle, making them pay.
Yeah, it's absolutely a very interesting,
Beautiful.
very interesting strategy. But again, Fuppenberg kind of sees what he's going for, and that's the beauty of Ezekiel Subset Alpha. He doesn't kind of hide his attempts. He's going for specific things, and he doesn't care if you see it.
Take it if you got it.
Yeah.
And he's going for a triangle choke, which again, it's not that he's not even trying to hide it. He just says, "Here, get out of it. I know my submission game is that good," and it's in pretty tight.
Yeah, he's really tightening it up. Fuppenberg is in
Fight's over.
He's
danger.
tapping.
And gets the tap.
Wow. Very, very quick, just like that. In a night where fights are ending in the third round, going to decision, Ezekiel Subset Alpha gets his second first-round submission victory. And
that is...
Wow, yeah.
That's incredible. Big points for Ezekiel.
He has put himself in a distant first place early on in this tournament. And that is the name of the game. You get more points for when you finish early, and that gets you into the top of the tables for the playoffs. Ezekiel Subset Alpha is acting like a pro, knowing how to play this game.
it's incredible what he's managed to accomplish. He had a setback in the Hyperfist, but allowed him to regroup, reassess, and he is 2-0 with 12 big points after 2 fights in the Global Megafist proper, which is no small it's no small feat to get that
again,
together.
Those opponents, Dale Branston and now Grover Fuppenberg, not the easiest of opponents either. That is our night of fights here in the Global Megafist 12. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. These are the results. The Ezekiel Subset Alpha with that first round victory. However, a couple of 5 points victories awarded to Chet Lama and Paranorman, our host, in the same group. So what it does to the standings is this. It does put the Ezekiel Subset Alpha with a 6-point advantage as the only 2-0 fighter. There's a big jumble in the middle, and let's not count Dale Branston out just yet, as Fuppenberg is only at 3 points. So again, we're seeing it could just be anyone's tournament. No one is necessarily out of it just yet.
No, I mean, a guy like Branston, it's surprising he's 0-2, but that could change very easily next week. A guy like Chet Lama is a tough out, but Branston is the 2019 Global Megafist champion at middleweight for a reason. He's got the skills. They can't exactly pay the bills here because he's not getting paid for these skills, but they're doing something for him. At least in the past, he's gonna have to perhaps reconsider a few things going into the next episode.
No doubt about that. We go over to Group B. Glorioso picks up his first victory. Gordon Wu, Leon Pagliacci going to 2-0. Let's see what it does there. And we are seeing an interesting set of standings. Tumor of Justice and Ken Dahl, both of them at 0-2 currently. Backs against the wall for the two of them. Glorioso versus the Tumor, Wu versus Dahl. Those are not easy fights, but at this point, I don't think there's an easy fight in this group for anybody. It is such an up-in-the-air group.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, Tumor of Justice being 0-2 is a complete shock to, I think, both of us, or at least to me, based on what he did last season. I don't expect Justice and Dahl to go very much longer without racking up a win, and it'll be very impressive if Wu and Pagliacci can go another couple of weeks holding on to those perfect unblemished records.
No
it's
doubt
just
about
so tough
that.
in which group he's standing.
I would 100% agree with you on that one. It's very interesting to see. And as we go to what we will see, this is what's coming up next week. We are back here again in 1 week's time, 8 p.m. Eastern, on this very network, on this very riverboat, sailing somewhere in America, because I can't imagine we'd go that far in that amount of time. I'm actually surprised this riverboat is still functional and moving at the pace that it is, but we've got the lightweights in action with their second set of group fights. Switcher versus Gibbs is a rematch from last year. Howard versus Sereno, same thing with that. Apnea versus Fondant, Valentine versus Swordhouse, and big fights featuring the newcomers in Walter Birch and Deputy Snooter Magnum as they face off against tried and true top-level fighters in Miroslav Florislava and Rob Lynn, respectively. Lucille, we got nowhere else to be, so I think that's going to be where we're going to be at, and I'm looking forward to those fights, even if we weren't under quarantine.
Oh, agree 100%, Derek. I mean, these fights are going to be fantastic. I am looking forward to it. I hope next week comes quick because basically the non-fight days are basically torture at this point. This is a hellish experience that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, but at least we have MMA every Monday. We
do have that, and when we can get a good cell phone signal, there is at least some sort of form of the internet. Would have thought that a riverboat would have Wi-Fi, but I guess that's not historically accurate. Nonetheless, perhaps we'll make our way through to the next one.
We're making do the best we can. That's all that can be said, I think, at this point.
I think to kind of make myself feel a little better, I need to go hit the dessert section of the buffet after this and treat myself to some ice cream or something to just at least make myself a little bit happier. Well, thank you all for joining us. As always, Lucille Cramblecorn, I'm Derek Osceola. We'll be back again in 1 week's time with another episode of Global Megafist 12. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the water.